It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage.
Headline, Los Angeles.
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the November 16th, 2024 25 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word. KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And you might want to check out that handy dandy QR code right there. Makes everything a lot easier. Ben Valley RamView is also brought to you by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And sports ball games make every game day funner for you and your crew. Play sports ball. Play for a hill of beans or just jelly beans. Sports ball games has everything for you. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get deeper into the episode. All right. I did not do a RamView wrap up. I was, how do I say this? I was sidelined this weekend. Jesus, Winers and Chickens living on copium. Hey, have you noticed that little sidetrack here, that they're talking about that Frisco victory over the Cardinals like it was some monumental, marvelous thing that has never been achieved before? I mean, it was like, it's the Cardinals, for goodness sakes. They're terrible. Anyway, watching that Ram game, I didn't work yesterday. I didn't do, I wasn't in the pulpit. I have cluster headaches. They're kind of a form of migraines. So I didn't do a RamView this morning. I didn't even do any other morning broadcast for my other job. So I'm here, and this is what we're doing today. We are here. We're going to do kind of a wrap up and talk about what took place at SoFi yesterday. I understand the largest Ram crowd in the history of SoFi, which that's not so bad. All right, so top 5 punter moments in Rams history. Ready? Top 5 punter moments in Rams history. First, number 5, something Johnny Hekker did. That's the 5th best Rams punter moment in history. All right. Number 4, something Johnny Hekker did. That's the 4th best moment in Rams punter history. 3rd best is something Johnny Hekker did as a Rams punter. Best moment for a Ram punter in history. Number 2, Rusty Jackson versus the Cowboys in the playoffs in 1976. You'll see right there. I screen captured that off a video. Rusty Jackson has just scored a safety for the Cowboys, and he's going to spike the football. The Cowboys were just eating up the Rams special teams. They had 14-10 in the playoffs in December of 76. And this is coming off the January 76 NFC title game they lost. And so the Rams went into Dallas, and they were winning this game 14-10. They had to punt deep in their end zone. And instead of giving the Cowboys an opportunity to block the kick, Rusty Jackson took it and ran out of bounds in the final seconds there late in the game. And there's a scene there that's very quick where you see him spiking the ball. And that's like the 2nd best Ram moment as a punter. Also, maybe Chuck Knox's best moment, best moment ever as Ram head coach making that call. So now it's time for the 1st best moment ever by a Ram punter in Ram history. And that was yesterday when Ethan Evans put that ball on the 2-inch line, right? Or the 2-centimeter line. I saw that ball bounce, and all I thought was it hit the pylon. It's going to the 20. And so Ethan Evans, and you think about it, we were talking seconds and yards here. And Ethan Evans put the Seahawks as far back as you can be put to make them go for that final drive. So There you go. There's the 5 best moments in Rams punter history. Johnny Hecker was the 5th. Johnny Hecker was the 4th. Johnny Hecker was the 3rd. Rusty Jackson, number 2. And Ethan Evans. They should put a statue out there for Ethan Evans for what he did yesterday. And that was a pretty amazing moment. All right. Hey, guys. Jesus, ESG, Micah Gutierrez, Phil, thank you for being here. Let me look at your questions before I break into the whole shtick here about yesterday. ESG, that was what they call a great coffin kick. That was just, the fortuitous nature of the universe was on the Rams side, right? You couldn't lose that game. You just couldn't lose that game. Rams had 2 things working for them in that moment. The great punt and Sam Darnold was playing quarterback. Hey, we're going to win, right? That was a pretty special. Mike Gutierrez, I thought the sports media said that our secondary wasn't very good. Oh, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. And they're still disrespecting Emmanuel Forbes. Bill, all I heard all day was Donald's interception. Nothing about the Rams winning the game and being the second seed in the NFC. The media hates the Rams. The media hates the Rams. Last I heard about Lake's injury, it is an elbow injury, and he could miss some time. Let's see, $5. That's Steve Ramirez. I still have Rusty Jackson, number 1. It was the Cowboys. Rusty Jackson, number 1. That's a good one, Steve, right there. Rusty Jackson. I stole that off of YouTube because I couldn't find anything else because I knew he spiked the ball. It was probably one of the happiest moments of my life as a Ram fan. But modern day, the harder thing to do, I got to give it to Ethan Evans, right? It was the harder thing. Jackson's was a choice, and he probably didn't even make the choice. Let's see here. ESG, did you notice how the officials are beginning to officiate the tush-push correctly? Slightly. There were some calls in that Ram game. It was like, you're not going to take a second look. And then there were others. They made a decision that, oh, yeah, it's all done. They need to get some on all that tush-push stuff. They need to get that figured out. Mike Gutierrez, Kyron had some of his most explosive runs of the season. Wish his snap count was higher than it was. Hey, give credit to Seattle. Seattle's defense closed up shop. They did, and the Rams front line, the interior, I think a little bit better, a little bit worse. They kind of stalemated them. So, they're talking about how the Rams didn't get a sack, but, the Seahawks didn't get a sack either. And I think, this was a really tough game. Couple of things break differently. It could have been a blowout, but you weren't going to blow out that Rams defense. Let's see. Eagle fans are complaining. ESG Eagle fans are complaining their offensive coordinator but it's Jalen Hurts. He has to dumb down the play calling for him. I don't think Hurts is an elite passer, an elite leader. Emmanuel Forbes locked it down. Manny Correa, yes, I will take props and all the plaudits and flowers and bouquets that go with that. Pony Express, thank you for joining us. Pony Express 29, obviously a Dickerson fan. That Seattle defense is stout. I'm going to put that there. That's a good one. That Seattle defense is stout. They did a really good job. We have to give them credit. But, they came in with 32 sacks, right? They left the game with the same number. So after 10 games, they still have 32 sacks, and 18 of those sacks have come against 2 teams that are, one is mediocre and the other is horrible. But with that said, they did a really good job. That last, third and 15, third and 10, before the Rams had to punt on that final drive for the Seahawks. If you notice that, I was glad they did kind of a pullback because it's like, come on, Stafford, get rid of it. And he had no one to go to. And here was the thing. He had time to throw. So you got to say, that might have been the best defense the Rams faced all season. Better than Phillies. Better than Phillies. That was a really good defensive effort by them. Let's see here. I think the line put all kinds of pressure on Darnold. Just enough, right? Just enough for him to go ghost mode, right? Absolutely. Yes, there you go. the Eagles-Lions game was being called for a false start. That one where he was reaching across, I think. I remember that one. The D-line. Yes, the D-line was good. All right, let me keep running on here real quick. I want to get to these notes. Matthew Stafford versus Sam Darnold, right? It wasn't pretty, right? And again, I'll have to say the last pick Matthew Stafford threw was in Philadelphia, week 3. Now, I can't remember where he threw that pick in the game, all right? But we're 243 attempts since the end of that game without Stafford throwing a pick. Darnold has 10 picks on the season, 7 of them in the last 4 games. That's a troubling trend if you're a Seahawks fan. Against the Rams, the last 3 times he's played the Rams, right? Week 8 last year, he was sacked 3 times. Wild card game, he was sacked 9 times. He wasn't sacked yesterday, but he threw 4 picks. So in 3 losses to Chris Shula's defense, he's been sacked 12 times and thrown 5 picks in 3 losses. And the playoff game was major, and this was a major game yesterday. And we talked about it. We've talked about this. Sam Darnold does not scare us because Sam Darnold is going to Darnold, right? At some point, he's going to be Sam Darnold. And that Ram defense, right? That Ram defense was terrific. The bend, the don't break works against Darnold because at some point, he's going to make a mistake. His biggest play was 28 yards yesterday. 28 yards. That was his biggest play. And there was that's why stuff was given up underneath. That's why there were moments where we got stung because at a certain point, Sam Darnold was going to screw up. And sure enough, he did. And the pressure wasn't great, but you know what? It was just enough to wreak havoc on that Seattle offense when they needed it most. Let's see. Mike Gutierrez. I felt like watching Raheem's bend, don't break defense yesterday. Yeah, but you know, with that Raheem Morris defense, and I'll give full credit, we won a Super Bowl with it. The biggest playmaker was Aaron Donald. But I'm looking around that Rams defense, and Versus a playmaker, Young's a playmaker, Turner can be a playmaker. We're seeing playmakers there, and Cam Kitchens, right? Nate Landman's a playmaker. Cam Kitchens owns the Seahawks, right? He picked off Geno twice in Lumen Field last year, returned 1 for a touchdown, and then he cleaned up yesterday. And it was really nice because Lake went out after about 32 snaps, and this was the interesting part, is nobody was talking about Lake being out because the Rams were getting fantastic clicks out of Cam Curl, played 84 snaps, Cam Kitchens, and Jalen McCullough. So the Rams are deep. You know, if you had to lose somebody for a period of time, let it be in the safety room because the Rams have depth there. Let's see. Rams Patriots in the Super Bowl. Revenge, right? Hey, sis, we're going to get revenge for the Rams Patriots in the Super Bowl. ESG, a lot of those sacks that the Seahawks gets because the quarterback holds onto the ball too long, unlike Stafford. Yeah, and they racked up 18 against the Cardinals and the Jaguars. 3 games against the Cardinals and Jaguars, they racked them up. Let's see here. Michael Negretti, Pastor Joe, Sean McVay is soft at the end of the game. He tries to give games away. You know, I know he took heat for being a little too conservative at the end, but I think it was reading the tea leaves. It was that the Seahawks defense is good. It's good, right? And if they beat us up in Lumen Field, it doesn't mean we're bad. This is a good team. Honestly, I was not impressed with Frisco's defense at any time this year. That was pathetic play by the Rams. We fell apart in Philly when we ran up a huge lead. But this was the best defense all around. So I think McVay was just kind of playing it safe, right? I think he was playing it safe. Pony Express 29, great to have you, man. I wondered if Ernest Jones and Cup provided insight to the Rams' game plan on offense and defense. You know, I think they could have, but, you know, the Rams, unlike the Dodgers in the World Series against the Astros, the Rams probably changed signals, changed calls, changed how they did things. Did you notice the Rams really weren't in 13 personnel yesterday? Rams only ran 51 offensive snaps, and only something to the extent of, what was that, 16 to 18 of them? I'm not even sure what the number was. Maybe it was 17. Only 16 to 18 of those snaps were 13 personnel. And so they were largely in 12 personnel. And I don't know if that's because they knew McDonald had 4 weeks to look at it on film, or they were trying to cross them up, or there was something about it they felt wouldn't work. I don't know what it was, but they did change things up. So I think there's limitations because Ernest Jones has been gone 2 years. He hasn't really been in the room with Chris Shula. And I heard Seahawk media this morning. They were mad because they didn't utilize Kupp more. They were mad. It was funny. They were mad about a lot of things. They were praising their defense, and yet they couldn't come to terms on how bad Darnold played. They're almost treating it like a one-off, and that was interesting to hear Seattle media and what they had to say. Micah Gutierrez, let's see here. Micah Gutierrez, what did you say? Thanks to the Panthers, our pick from Atlanta is now number 8. Yes, Rams have the 8th pick. If the draft were to start today, the Rams have the 8th pick and the 29th pick in the first round. They have the 61st in the second and the 93rd in the third. So Rams are in good shape right now. And remember, think about this. Rams gave up no assets in terms of trading away picks to get more at the trade deadline. So they're holding on to all their ammo. Samuel Ainsley, thank you for clicking on. ESG, Rams finally getting the respect from the media. I don't know. I don't know if they are. Let's see. Bill, number 8 pick in the draft. Love those Falcons. And they lost Michael Penix. Did you see that? Michael Penix looks like he's out. He could be out for the rest of the year. He could be looking at surgery. And that's not good because that dude's had knee issues before. Knowing our luck, I would rather not play the Patriots. Oh, man, see, I want revenge, man. I want revenge. I would hate to play the Patriots and lose, but I do want revenge. Let's see. Yeah, right there, boom. We talked about that ESG, what happened to 13 personnel. The Seahawks just have the right players to defend it. I'm not going to play coach there, but there's something there they didn't like. And so McVay motioned out of it. And this is, again, where you give McVay, McSneed, you give them the benefit of the doubt. Forbes. Can I take a victory lap on Emmanuel Forbes? He didn't get a pick 6, but can I have a victory lap on Emmanuel Forbes? Okay, I'm just going to run around my office here and take my victory lap on Emmanuel Forbes. Wow, I don't even know what to say in terms of Emmanuel Forbes, right? If I wish he had been exclusively on Jackson Smith Najigba, right? I mean, all around our secondary was terrific. And this, again, was without Quentin Lake. Kitchens owned Seattle. Curl played well. And, they defended Darnold the way they wanted to defend Darnold. But it's time for someone higher up in the food chain to call out PFF. They graded Forbes poorly again. And the truth is, among other things, I think the punt and a few key plays there, and Emmanuel Forbes being one of them. Without Emmanuel Forbes, do the Rams beat the Seahawks? Right? Next gen stats showed Forbes was on Smith Najigba 20 times. And in those 20 times, Smith Najigba was only targeted 5 times. That's a win right there. The fact that he was only targeted 5 times on 20 routes where Forbes was guarding him, that's a win there. And he only had 3 catches for 30 yards, right? Darius Williams played well. Kobe Durant played well. I'm not slamming any of those guys, but Forbes was the guy. And then I don't know which one of you guys, right there. ESG, the touchdown saving tip away, right? We've made our money on Forbes, right? We've made our money back on Forbes. That flyer the Rams took on him at the end of the season last December, it is paying off. Let's see here. Where else we got here? I mean, you guys are really pumping them in there, man. Let me get this here. I wanted to see that one. Roger McCreary trade will prove more pivotal depending on how long Lake is out. Absolutely. We got to see him. I didn't look if McCreary got any snaps. I don't think he did on defense. I think on special teams he's out there, but that could become an issue, right? That could become an issue. Forbes, Williams, and even Durant, these are boundary guys. They're wide corners. And then you got to find out, Jalen McCullough, Cam Curl. I don't think Cam Curl's that guy. Cam Kitchens. Who's going to be the guy that lines up in the slot over somebody in that star position? I think they could all do it for a moment or two, but I don't think you want it for an extended period. And that's what Roger McCreary became almost exclusively in Tennessee. Let's see. Michael Negretti. Hola, Pastor Joe. I want to thank the Falcons. Oh, there you go. Sorry. That one came back. Let's see. Manuel Vasquez. Rams D had a great game yesterday and are allowing only 13 points per game and during the 5-game winning streak. And they'll get back Witherspoon. Right. Yeah. And Witherspoon's on his way back. 4 field goals. That doesn't get talked about enough. The fact that every time Seattle had an opportunity, 4 field goals, they had to settle, right? And we know in this day and age, if they had been in position to go for it in a manner where it was like 4th and 2, 4th and a yard and a half, the Rams were keeping them out of those positions. And this goes back to that bend, don't break, is that I used to get really frustrated during Raheem Morris's regime, was the only real playmaker, maybe Jalen Ramsey, yeah, and Aaron Donald were the only 2 guys, but Landman makes plays. Everybody on that line, that front 7 makes plays. The Cam Kitchens makes plays. Quentin Lake can make plays. And we're seeing, maybe the development of Emmanuel Forbes into a playmaker because that batted ball was awesome. Michael Negretti, go Dirty Birds. Okay. Let's see who else we got here. Pony Express, Rams Seahawks game should have been flexed to Sunday night. Yeah, it should have. But wasn't he awful in that game? Wasn't Jared Goff awful? I mean, he was horrible. He was horrible. He cost his team that game, right? I understand Eagles got pressure and everything, but Jared Goff looked terrible, and I think that was the right way to go when they made that deal. Aaron Rodgers broke a wrist. Yes, he's out. They're turning to Rudolph there in Pittsburgh. Take your victory lap, Joe, but don't take your victory lap, but don't pull anything, Pastor Joe. All right, I won't pull anything. How would we feel if we go to Seattle and win again? The fans would blame it was raining in Seattle, ifs, ands, and buts. Here's the good news about this. Listening to their media, I think they're a little delusional. I don't think they want to admit this is who Sam Darnold is. Even Colin Cowherd kept his mouth shut today to some extent, at least where I heard him. It's like, hey, come out and admit it. 7 picks in the last 4 games. 7 picks. It's like, this isn't a one-off, man. This has been building, and there's a narrative out there on him, right? Make him wait a second. Make him count down just a little bit more and get to him. I refuse to, I'd like to believe it, but I don't think the Rams are the only ones that are going to have his number. And again, look at the teams they beat. Their schedule is still pretty good in terms of who they play. But to me, as good as their defense is, they're going to need to really create some turnovers and takeaways and such something because I think that they're a liability on offense, right? I think they've got a liability. I think they could be a one and done. All right. Manuel Vasquez, Forbes put on a little muscle during the offseason, and it shows he could probably use a little more. Did you see him get all physical? Did you see him on that running play going out of bounds? How he was deep. He rotated to the middle of the field and came back when the ball turned the corner. Was it Kenneth Walker? He came up and hit. He's playing really well, and PFF grades him like he's garbage, right? PFF grades him like he's David Lang or something. It's awful the way they grade him. Terrible. Yes, Darnold's new strategy to avoid sacks. There you go. And here McVay say, yeah, stats don't matter. because he was saying today, I saw him interviewed, I heard him interviewed, McVay saying, hey, because of the pressure we did get, that forces those picks. So sacks or picks. That was really great to see. Refs tried to affect the fourth quarter again. Okay. Yes. Okay. Two things I wanted to talk about in that Ram game. Did you see on the Rams' first drive, and they challenged when Kyron Williams caught the ball, and it clearly looked like he got the first down, the ball cleared the mark, and they reviewed it, and they said the ruling on the field stands. That was garbage. That one was really garbage, and that's the series I think we ended up with nothing on, that opening drive. That one bothered me. And then if Steve Ramirez is still here, because I know Steve is a stickler on these things, here's the one that bothered me at the end. 5 seconds left, and he gets the pass to Shaheed. Shaheed's not touched, right? So by the time Darnold's getting rid of it, there's 2 seconds left, I think. Shaheed catches it and is able to call timeout without being touched, and they get the 1 second on the clock to attempt the field goal. I understand you can give yourself up, but it's like the process of catching the ball and getting the timeout. Help me on this one. Help me on this one, because I think that clock should have expired. I'm looking at it. Kobe Turner thought the clock expired. That clock should have expired. With 1 second, he catches it, and he gets the catch, the timeout, without being touched. Isn't he still a live player? I mean, what does he have to do at that point to say, I gave myself up, right? What does he have to do? Something about that play really irritated me. And I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Seattle defense did miss a lot of tackles. Yes, they did, but I think they were great in coverage. Let's see. Pony Express 29. When you rely on field goals, you will lose the game. You need to score touchdowns in the red zones. Yeah, and look what the Rams are doing, right? Look what the Rams are doing. They're doing a great job there. Let's see. ESG. Goff showed Darnold. Where's that at? Goff and Darnold showed yesterday why they were let go by their previous teams. And here's the thing. These are good quarterbacks. They're good quarterbacks, but elite defenses will knock them out. Now, again, with Goff, they didn't have Sam Laporta last night, and they're playing in some colder weather. I mean, I'm looking for some excuse there to protect the guy, because he's been great in Detroit, but he was just awful last night. He was just terrible. Pastor Joe, Dan Campbell should have gone for some field goal instead of going for it on fourth down. I think there was a couple of plays there he should have. Let me ask you this. Did it warrant unsportsmanlike when Jamison Williams jumped on the goalpost and fell back? How ridiculous was that call, right? How ridiculous. You want to engender good faith that they threw the right call, they did this. You walk away from a call like that. How stupid was that call? And it cost them that extra point. I don't think that cost them the game, but it could have. That was just a ridiculous call. And again, this is my argument why the NFL needs another league to come after it. It needs a billionaires league to give it competition. An Elon Musk, a Jeff Bezos, some of these billionaires start their own football league, play in the fall, and recruit and steal these players from the teams. And then the NFL will tighten its ship on all this ridiculous stuff that it does. It needs that. When you don't have anybody pressing you, pushing you, you're not going to get better. And so there we go. McVay should have given Darnold the game ball. You're on Sam Darnold, right? They should have given him the ball. They should have given it to Chris Shula. ESG, Darnold just ain't it. It just ain't. It's going to be a hard lesson to learn. Oh, Darnold just ain't it. It's a hard lesson to learn. And if the longer your opponents stay in that zone, it's like the Cardinals having all that belief in Kyler Murray. It's like the 49ers. I think Brock Purdy's a good quarterback, but Brock Purdy doesn't scare me. Having all that belief, yeah, that's great. I'm just really happy for the Rams. There's no Drake May in this division, right? That really makes me happy. There's no Drake May. That's what I don't want to see. I don't want to see a Drake May in this division, and that's good news for the Rams. Steve Ramirez, was there any word on Smith's injury? The Athletic described it as a brain injury. All I saw was concussion, and he got up and then he was gone, right? Because I think Kyron received a couple of the punts there and stuff. But there's the other question right now for the Rams. There's the other question that we need to just kind of like bat around a little bit. Wide receiver, right? If Smith goes on the IR or is out because of protocols for a week or more, where do they go? Because Atwell at least has another week on the IR, I think. And where do they go if Smith's out? And, I think it was Mumfield, I think, had 15 snaps. Whittington had 25. The weird thing about this is that we were looking at was they didn't go to 13 personnel. Only, 16 to 18 of those snaps were 13 personnel out of 51. So it's like 30%, right? Terrence Ferguson only played 15 snaps. I was really surprised. They didn't go to Ferguson at all. And I'm wondering what that was. Just really good coverage. He wasn't getting separation. I'm really curious what that was. Davis Allen didn't even get a target. Davis Allen, when it seemed like he was climbing the ladder. Colby Parkinson played 35 snaps. Higbee 20. Davis Allen only 19. He's the new fullback, right? And he didn't play at all. So I'm kind of curious to see what the Rams do at wide receiver if he's out for a while. Speaking of Xavier Smith, looking at the practice squad right now, who's there? Is it True Edwards? Is he a wide receiver? I know Brennan Presley and that I think it would be Brennan Presley after the summer he had. But what are the Rams going to do in that regard? And that was part of the reason we were talking about them. Hey, be sure to get another wide receiver. And if they weren't going to get another wide receiver, I thought because of the way they've used Terrence Ferguson, going into this game, 105 snaps, 56 of those snaps were in the slot or at wide receiver. But they didn't use him yesterday at all. Let's see. Manuel Vasquez. The clock stopped at 1 second. But how do I say this? What's the rule on giving yourself up? What's the rule on giving yourself up, right? Because do I have to get down on the ground? How long does he have to have possession of the ball before he can say I'm giving myself up? Is it just on the time? It just looked weird. It's not like basketball, right? The play is not over. I don't know. Let's see. Steve Ramirez. It almost looked rigged, Joe. Are you talking about that 1 second play, Steve? Because you have a lot of credibility in my book in this department, Steve. Let me know. Reiterate. I'd love to hear it. Pony Express. Clock should have expired. The Rams got robbed on that play and the third down play with Kyron Williams. McVay challenged the call and lost. Yeah, another one that I didn't mention was the one where McVay was making an issue about it in the last 2 minutes there. Charbonnet got knocked backwards out of bounds, and that clock should have kept running. And that would have eaten up those final seconds, right? That was another play there that was very Munich 72 Sergei Beloff that made you think, if you want to talk about heist or rigged, that was interesting too, because McVay openly complained and they stopped the clock on that one, and that saved them. That's allowed them to keep their timeout. Lot of there was some stuff there that was very questionable, and I haven't heard too many people talk about that. Get Ballmer to start another league. There you go, Ballmer, Bezos, Musk. Let's get these guys together and see what we can get going on this one. Changing baseball terms, C&I signal, new football terms, C&I punt. There you go. Did everyone see the 5 best moments for Ram punters in history? Number 5, Johnny Hecker did something. The 4th best moment, Johnny Hecker did something. 3rd best moment, Johnny Hecker did something. Second best moment, Rusty Jackson, Cowboys playoffs, 1976. And then first best moment in Ram punter history. Yeah, that dude right there, Ethan Evans. That was marvelous. If we end up getting if the Rams end up getting the home field advantage throughout the playoffs, it might have come down to that one, man. The seeing eye punt, right? Right now, I'll accept the seeing eye punt. We might need to come up with another, like the immaculate punt, right? Or something. We need the holy punt or whatever. We need to come up with something to name that. Did I miss the first hour of the game yesterday? Yeah, because I tell you guys, I was supposed to go out to lunch with my wife, but I was sidelined all weekend with a cluster headache. I get these cluster headaches in the form of migraines. I didn't work yesterday. I wasn't in my pulpit. I wasn't broadcasting for my church. So I was sitting in my office all day wondering because I didn't go to church, if I jinxed the Rams, right? That's one of the worlds we live in. When we are Ram fans, we think, I don't want to jinx the Rams. Surratt, Michael Penix has been injury prone throughout his high school, college, and NFL career. I knew this would backfire on Morris, drafting Penix in the first round. I've liked him when I've seen him, but he's been inconsistent this year. And now the injury, you know what? I don't want to see any kid injured. I don't. I don't want to see anybody injured. I don't even want to see Raheem lose his job. I really don't. But in the end, this is all good news for the Rams, right? Can you imagine if they make their mind up that Penix can't be the guy, maybe because of injury? Can they get out of Kirk Cousins' contract after this year? And now they don't even have a top 10 pick to go out and fix this, right? Yeah, that they're in some trouble there in Atlanta. Let's see. Manny Correa saying hi. MJR Bread. Let's see. What does he say here? I wonder how many Niner fans are Dodger fans. I don't know. They probably they bounce back and forth. ESG Kyrie was shedding that defense in the first half, but then McVay abandoned it. I think it's twofold. I think, yeah, he pulled back a little bit, but Rams got very few possessions. The Nakua fumble didn't help, and I know. The Seattle defense did tighten up. I want to slam Seattle, but I don't want to slam them too much because I do think they're a good team that can beat the Rams. Let's see. Michael Negretti, what's the rule on giving yourself up? You wait until marriage. Oh, jeez. Listen to this. What's the rule on giving yourself up? I'd be curious about that giving yourself up stuff, right? I do. Oh, here we go. USA expat. The PI call on Forbes was also questionable. Where that game was, in the moment that game was in, that was what we would term as a henhouse call, right? That was a terrible call. That was something that was just, right? They talk about, hey, we don't want to decide a game, right? We don't want to decide a game. They were deciding a game right there, right? They were deciding a game right there. And again, I don't want to be that guy. But I did ask some people about when they had that PI call on Rocky Sin last night. Did you see the PI call on Rocky Sin against A.J. Brown on Sunday night? That made me post, hey, check the prop bets, right? Because now everything's suspicious, right? Everything is suspicious. Let's see here. Steve, yes, the 1 second play. The only thing I could think of is if the Seahawks told the ref before the play, stop the clock on the reception, but it didn't look right. Yeah. How can you say stop the clock? Do they make the rules? Does Seattle make the rules? I'm with you, Steve. I'm not arguing that, but isn't it kind of funny that no one else brings it up? That no one else. Again, this is why I go back here. Never defer what your eyes see. Just because Greg Olson doesn't talk about it, just because the KBM doesn't talk about it, you've seen it with your own eyes. You're football people. You know what you see. All right, guys. I am Joe Terosian as a sports writer for 21 years. I still do it a little bit, and now I do RamView thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law. Be sure to check out Kistler Law. Use their QR code. They are fantastic. And then, of course, Sports Ball Game. They are a new friend of the show. If you're looking for a way to bring your crew together on game day without the gambling stress or fantasy overload, try Sports Ball Games. Free pick'em and squares, live leaderboards, and bragging rights built right in. One click and you're in. No fees, no spreadsheets, no headaches. Just sports fun your whole group can enjoy. Whether you're cheering from the break room or the backyard, Sports Ball Games make every game day a team event. Play for fun, brag for real. www.joinsportsball.com. Check that out. We're going to make that more of our experience into next year. Okay, so thanks to our sponsors, Kistler Law, and these folks, I'm able to do my day job, and my day job is I pastor a small church in Burbank Faith Nazarene. We're right on here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual, burbankfaithvirtual.com, and Burbank Faith Virtual across social media. I also support myself by writing books. This is one of my more successful books. It's not about football. This one's about high school bullying, a little bit of a Twilight Zone twist. It's called The Dark Norm. Came out about 7 years ago, and it's done well. And every time you purchase a book, you just help me stay on the air. And it's soft cover and, of course, in ebook form. And soon it will be, not real soon it will be in audio. And I'm in that whole middle ground where the AI voices are pretty good now, but I'm being told I should use my voice, and I don't like the sound of my voice. So be sure to check out these books of mine. They're all found on Amazon. I do appreciate your support. All right, let's go. Let's keep looking here. And that's a great question that we should ask. Has Raheem Morris joined Mike McDaniel or surpassed Mike McDaniel as the head coach who will not be back in 2026? Do you think he's on the hot seat? I think they've lost 5 in a row. They're 3-7. I like Penix. I understand Penix, but Penix has not played well this year, and now he's out with an injury, and he's got a history of injuries. I think you guys are just sharing that. What do they do? Because they've got talent. Drake London, Bijan Robinson. They've got talent, and it's just not coming together. Is Raheem Morris in trouble? Is he in more trouble? I think Mike McDaniel, I think we know, barring a Super Bowl run, Mike McDaniel is dead man walking. He's already walking the green mile. But Raheem Morris, could he go before him? Yeah, that's something we should definitely keep an eye on. All right, Sunday or Thursday night, we talked about this one on Friday, Jets, Patriots. Patriots won 27-14. Everyone's all over Aaron Glenn, but we made the argument that if the Jets had a competent quarterback, if the Jets had a quarterback who could walk and chew gum at the same time, they might have made that a one-possession game, and things could have been different. They played hard. They just don't have a quarterback there. And they also don't have that wide receiver. I think Adonai Mitchell is angling for a career in the UFL. He can't catch the ball. He just can't catch the ball. If you remember the old Sid Gilman NFL Films thing, when the guy says it hit in his hands and Sid Gilman says, get him out of there. He's got no hands, right? He's got no hands. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. I've seen players, ESG, I've seen players about to score a touchdown and kneeling in at the goal line in order to run out the clock, even after touched. Yeah, they go down and they'd have to be touched, right? That clock would keep running. Am I reading that right? Right? I don't know. I'm just curious. Felt fishy. Manuel Vasquez. I just rewatched that play. The ball was caught with 1 second. The clock stopped when he called timeout, and they gave it to him. Whatever happened to home field advantage. Yeah, let's talk to Sam Lagana. All right. MJ Arboret. Hey, thanks, Joe. Thank you, Chief. I appreciate you being here. NFL Radio has a segment with Dean Bendino on Tuesday. Hopefully they discuss that 1 second play. Hey, man, that could come down deciding a Super Bowl, right? I hope they give the Rams that 1 second if they play the Patriots in the Super Bowl. NFL runs the clock. Many clock operators deployed by the league. Oh, good call. Never thought about that, Steve. Mikey Gutierrez. I'm sure the offense will be fired up on Sunday night after struggling this past week, especially Devontae. Yeah, Seahawks are a good defense. The Buccaneers aren't bad, but the Buccaneers are really, really banged up. Let's look at a few more scores. Taxkins in Madrid lost to the Dolphins. I took the Dolphins. Dolphins won 16-13. DC is done. They should fire Dan Quinn if he puts Jaden Daniels back on the field this year. Dolphins do keep hope alive. They're 4-7 now, the Dolphins. They're on a bye this week. And then I'm not saying these things are easy, but in the next when they come back, the next 4 weeks, they play the Saints, the Jets, the Steelers, and the Bengals. They could be 8-7 by week 15, and that opens up a lot of curiousness, right? What if they go on a run, right? What if? I think it would be a mistake to keep Mike McDaniel, but really interesting. They're on bye. They're 4-7. They get the Saints, the Jets, the Steelers, and the Bengals. And the Steelers without Aaron Rodgers, I know Steeler fan Rob in Missouri is honking for Mason Rudolph. He could put Council Rudolph out there, and it's not going to happen. Panthers are now 6-5. They beat the Falcons. I took the Falcons in that game. Carolina has won 30-27. And here's a great question for everybody out there. Has Bryce Young found himself, or is he getting fat off of bad teams? And third one, do you extend him going into his offseason? Do you pick up that option fifth year, right? He's a tweener nightmare. He's a tweener nightmare. And until I see him do it in a playoff game or do it against a really good team, if I'm Carolina, I make the hard call and I move off of him. That's what I would do. I'd be curious to know your guys' thoughts. Buccaneers at Bills. We took Buffalo because they had to win. And, what am I supposed to say, right? Who's like Josh Allen? 6 touchdowns. Who's able to make war with Josh Allen, right? Unbelievable. Let's see. Mitchell is the Roberto Duran, the NFL, hands of stone. Manos de piedra, right? Manos de piedra. And Jackson Smith-Njigba, manos de pegamento, right? There you go. Let's keep rolling here. Boom. Where were we? Chargers at Jaguars. Jacksonville 35-6. I said after last week, I'm not picking against the Chargers. I picked the Steelers over the Chargers. Chargers with nobody against a superior pass rush. Beat Pittsburgh. Okay, I'm not picking against the Chargers for the rest of the year. The Harbaugh mojo is stronger than the Spanos voodoo, and the Spanos is counterpunched, and the Chargers looked awful. They looked depleted. They looked banged up. They looked terrible yesterday, losing 35-6. Trevor Lawrence threw a pick in the first half, and I thought when he threw this pick, I didn't know what was coming for the rest of the game, but I looked at his contract, and I thought, could this be a guy that when time comes for a change of scenery and he hasn't reached his potential, could Trevor Lawrence be a guy that comes to a Sean McVay in a couple of years, and this is the guy that McVay thinks he could build around? The next 3 seasons, starting in 2026, Lawrence's cap hit is 24 rocks, 35 rocks, and 47 rocks. And it's where it gets sticky is in 2029, he's 74 or 78, and in 2030, he's 74 rocks. That's big money, but again, that's 5-6 years from now, 5 years from now. Would Lawrence be a guy that you think, if he whiffs out in Jacksonville, would he be a guy that you think maybe a McVay could resurrect? Because he'd only be in his late 20s at that time, and maybe ultimately an heir apparent. And if you got on him early, Rams win a Super Bowl. Stafford says, "Hey guys, I'm out. Could you make a deal for Trevor Lawrence? Would you make a deal for Trevor Lawrence?" And you picked up the rest of his contract. That would be a great discussion. I don't know what you guys think about that one. Let's see. ESG. Are we seeing a separation? The separation we were waiting for between pretenders and contenders? I think so. Excuse me. The one thing, you look at the NFC West, I was going to put up standings today, and I just didn't do it. You look at the NFC West, 49ers aren't going away. They're going to keep cleaning up against some of these teams. They're 7-4. When they play a real team, they're going to get bounced. The Seahawks are for real. Vikings are out. Lions might have some issues here. I'm not sure. They might have some issues. I'm not hung up on the Packers, the Bears, right? The Bears, right? And Tampa Bay is coming back to the pack. I think what we're seeing, is legitimate contenders. Is you're seeing Philly keeps on winning, and the Rams keep on winning, right? That's what I think what we're seeing here in the NFC. I don't know if there's anything going to break either way. Who's going to get hot, right? Do you really believe in Chicago? Do you really believe in them? I don't know if I do. I like Detroit, but I don't think Detroit's great. I like Tampa Bay. They were my dark horse in the NFC this year, but they're so banged up. I don't know what to say about Detroit. I really don't. I mean, Tampa Bay. I like Mayfield, but he loses his big receiver. He loses Evans, Igabuka, Chris Godwin. They've all been out at different times. Lost Bucky Irving. Again, spirit is willing, but flesh is so weak. There might not be enough there. This could come down to a Ram-Philly rematch. Personally, for book sales, I wish it would be a Ram-Packers NFC championship, but that's not going to, I don't think they're going to do anything to accommodate me. What we want to see is the Rams to keep on winning, and we want to see Philly stumble and fall so we don't have to go to the madness of the link, right? We don't want to have to do that. And the rain has started here again in SoCal. All right, good question here, Chief. What about C.J. Stroud? Texans are 3-0 without him. Would the Texans do it? That's really interesting too, because he hasn't gotten paid yet. So the Rams could have some control in that. It might cost them more money or more capital to get him, because if you're going to assume Lawrence's massive contract, then you can hedge what you give them, but they still believe in Stroud. The interesting thing about that, Davis Mills continues to keep the ship on course. And Davis Mills is this guy. I'm going to sneeze here in a second. Davis Mills is this guy that was a starter for 2 years in the David Culley, Lovie Smith era of Texans football, post Deshaun Watson, when everything was madness. And he acquitted himself pretty good for a rookie out of Stanford. And when they brought Stroud in, remember they brought in Case Keenum, but Mills was always the second guy. And I like Mills. I do. I really like Mills. And I remember even reading his draft thing that if he had played longer at Stanford, that he might have gone higher in the draft to be considered something. I wanted the Rams to go after him in a trade when we didn't know where Stafford was going to be after the 21 season. I don't think they're going to move off of Stroud. But the thing is, too, is that they haven't been fair to Stroud. They screwed up their offensive line. He doesn't have enough weapons. They fixed the defense. The defense is great, but they're everything else. I think it would be premature to say they'd get rid of Stroud just because you get rid of Laramie Tunsil and you don't know you're going to put a rookie at left tackle. I don't know what they were thinking. Right? I don't know what they were thinking. Michael Negretti. Let's see what we got here, Michael. Pastor Joe, is Steeler fan Rob making a Christmas list for a new quarterback? It surely isn't helmet. Surely isn't helmet to the helmet Rudolph or broken wrist Rodgers. He was all over how bad Jackson Dart was. Right? Oh, that's a mistake. We shouldn't draft him Dart. Now he's admitted it. He missed it. But also in the summer, he was praising Will Howard. Will Howard. Oh, Will Howard's our God. Will Howard's the steal of the draft. Steeler fan Rob, because of what his team has done, he doesn't know whether to puke or wind his wristwatch. He has no idea what to do. And then he was a big Aaron Rodgers guy, and now he's out on Rodgers. What a joke. They've let Rodgers down. Omar Khan, the GM, they needed to get Rodgers more help. And now you need that help even more because Mason Rudolph is not Aaron Rodgers. So you needed more weapons, and they didn't get it for them. And so, Steeler fans, man, it's the same always, right? It's the same thing over and over and over again. Bears at Vikings. Bears beat the Vikings 19-17. Good for Chicago, but I'm not buying Chicago just yet. Packers at Giants. Again, that was this close. Good for the Giants playing hard. But the Packers really needed to kind of stave off a few things there. I like Jameis Winston as their quarterback. I don't know why they're farting around with Russell Wilson anymore. That thing is done until Jackson Dart comes back. Just let Jameis Winston go out there and sling it. Everyone talks trash about Jameis Winston and his 31 picks, but that same year he threw 31 picks. He threw 33 touchdowns, right? And playing with a team that was subpar. It's not the Buccaneers that Tom Brady got, right? It's not the Buccaneers or it became, and it's not the Buccaneers that Baker Mayfield has. Maybe Tom Brady more. But I like Jameis. Let him sling it. And he almost slung them to a victory over the Packers. And oh, by the way, Micah Parsons was listed as 1.5 sacks. And the sack he got, very last play of the game when Winston is trying to throw deep. That was the only big play. Packers are in trouble. They spent too much on Micah Parsons. Way too much. All right, let's see. Hotsky. Let's see, let me get that there. Hotsky. All right. The Seahawks middle line. Thank you for joining us, Hotsky. Please sure, guys, newcomers, hit the like and subscribe there on YouTube and everything. Really helps us. The Seahawks middle linebacker, yeah, gave an interview after the game. After watching that, I see why the Rams let him go. Yeah, there's a certain template that the Rams use for players, right? There's a certain personality thing, psychological fit. I liked Ernest Jones. Ernest Jones is a good player, but there's a certain thing that the Rams expect. You don't get that stuff from the Rams. As a football fan, you kind of love, you love a middle linebacker like that saying, hey, man, that's my quarterback, right? Now, maybe the approach of it wasn't the best, but I guarantee it warmed the cockles of Sam Darnold's heart, right? Because, yeah, Sam Darnold cost them that game. He did. He cost them that game. And but that part, good for Ernest Jones, but you can also see why, yeah, that's not definitely not the Rams template. Not that the Rams are all choir boys, but there is a certain expectation there from a Ram personnel, right? Jimmy, 553, the banged up Bucks had Patriots, Bills. Bucks had Patriots, Bills, and now the Rams. Yeah, ouch. Absolutely. It's very true. Very, very true. JK in Alabama. Thank you for joining us, JK. The Rams have a good future. They do. I don't know if you're in Alabama, man. I don't know if you're a long-term Ram fan or not. Sometimes I think it takes us a while. There are very few legitimate Ram fans. I think they're all here. Ram fans are ephemeral. Ram fans are very LA. It's like, hey, we're going to move off. Ram fans, for the most part, are not the real Ram fans, but the people who label themselves. They're the people who liked those uniforms yesterday, right? They're the people who want all the kiss cams, dance cams, and all the celeb stuff. And they bail on the team when the team loses. So there's a very small, narrow thing there. And the tough thing is you want to make sure that those that do know, they recognize that this is a golden era for Rams football. This is really a golden era. You got a quarterback, a coach, and you got ownership, right? You got ownership that it's not Georgia. Even Carroll Rosenblum had a nice run. He meddled. And Dan Reeves, before Carroll Rosenblum in the 60s, when you read that history, the dude meddled. And this is the golden era. And so they do. You're right. Absolutely, Alabama. They have a very, very strong future. Sorry for the history lesson there. I didn't mean to go on that long on that one. Manuel, the Eagles still have 2 against Washington, 1 against Dallas, and 1 against the Raiders. It's going to be hard to finish 1 game ahead of them since they have the tiebreaker. Yeah, I think so. But, the more Jalen Hurts has to run, the more exposed he's going to be, right? Lane Johnson now is out. I think Lane Johnson went on the IR. Is it a high ankle? He went on the IR. And so they're mortal. We saw what we could do against them, but they are mortal. And again, at a certain point, is there a breaking point when A.J. Brown talks too much, right? So, yeah. Let's see. Mason Rudolph has already beat the Rams in his rookie season. Yeah, there's Steeler fan Rob in Missouri. Everyone say hi to them, right? Let's see. Who else we got here? Micah, you may not like the black uniforms, but we're 1-0 in them. I despise those black uniforms. They, I want the Rams. The Rams are as close to a blue blood as you can get. They weren't here in the 20s, but they were developed and founded in the late 30s, I think 37, 38. They should be just sticking to their colors and their history. And I give props to the Steelers, Packers, Chiefs for that kind of stuff. That's why their fans are so loyal. Bengals at Steelers. Bengals are now 3-7. Steelers are 6-4. It was a nice win for the Steelers. Pittsburgh won 34-12. And now Steeler fan Rob is saying, Mason, won't you guide my sleigh tonight, right? Did you see Jamar Chase spit on Jalen Ramsey? I mean, it's kind of funny. I'm wondering, what would Chase have to say to Jalen Ramsey? Because Jalen Ramsey says, bro, I got a ring, man. What about you? Remember, I got my ring playing you. And, yeah, I guess he didn't have much to say. That's why he spit. So yeah, that was a bad move. And I think he got suspended today. Someone confirmed that for me. I think he got suspended. Steelers needed that win because the Ravens, the next 4 weeks, the Ravens play the Jets, the Bengals, and the Steelers and the Bengals again. So the Steelers really, really needed that win. And they got it. So good for them. They showed they were capable of losing to the Bengals before. So good for them. Texans, Titans, we talked about that one. Texans are 5-5 now. Houston won 16-13. Davis Mills keeps them going. 49ers at Cardinals. This was another one that was this a big surprise? Cards are 3-7. 49ers are 7-4. And they were talking about how great Brock Purdy looked and how great the 49ers looked. Have you seen the Cardinals, right? Have you seen the Cardinals? Someone actually said McCaffrey should be an MVP consideration. Heaven help me. Heaven help me. Chiefs at Broncos. Broncos won 22-19. Everyone was out on Bo Nix. Now Bo Nix is cool again. Sean Payton, man. Sean Payton, right? Chiefs are old. Chiefs are bad now. And everyone was saying that. And then a few weeks ago, the KBM was talking about how the Chiefs aren't going away, right? Ravens and Browns, we didn't talk about that one. The fact it was 23-16 should give Steeler fans hope. They should have put the Browns away. I know the Browns got a defense, but they should have put the Browns away. Think about it this way. Shedeur Sanders came into the game, and Baltimore only won 23-16. So that's no slam dunk that the Ravens are going to beat the Steelers. No slam dunk. I think even with Lamar Jackson, they're susceptible. And the Lions and Eagles, 16-9. Lions offense was awful. It was terrible. And the call at the end was awful, but I still don't think they would have done anything with it. I don't have any problem with Dan Campbell being who he is going forward on fourth down. But Goff just wasn't Goff, right? He wasn't the Goff that has been there for him these last few years. Let's see here. Boom. Let's get this one up. JK, Alabama. If the Rams win a Super Bowl this season, what would happen the next season? Well, I'd be curious to know. I think it would all hinge on Stafford, right? Because if Stafford keeps playing at this level and he doesn't suffer any injury, right? Just the bangs and bruises of everything. He doesn't suffer any injury, and he wins a Super Bowl. At what point does his wife look at him and say, honey, you've made over $360 million playing in the NFL. We got 4 daughters. Dad needs to be around. That might be enough for him to say, you know what, I'll bow out, right? He should be a Hall of Famer, but because he plays for the Rams, he doesn't get any respect. But he should already be a Hall of Famer. A Super Bowl ring would kind of lock that up. I would be worried about him retiring if the Rams won a Super Bowl, right? And that would be the first thing. And then you got to figure out, what are you going to do? Devontae Adams, you can bring him back. Puka Nacua is going to have to either, they're going to be, this is Puka's 3rd season. So he's going into his 4th contract year. Okay, now how much are you going to sign him for? They are going to sign him, but how much are you going to sign him for? Is he going to stay healthy? You got Quentin Lake you got to make a decision on. There's some things here. And then Kobe Turner and Byron Young will be going into their 4th year, their contract year. And so, yeah, the Rams got a bill that's coming contract-wise. They just do a great job deciding which way to go and who to cut and who to move off on. And they've moved off players, right? You can't get more beloved, at least in my neck of the woods, Robert Woods. We loved Robert Woods. We loved John Johnson. I remember the 2020 playoff run, right? That's when John Wolford played week 17, and then he got hurt in the wild card game up in Seattle. The Rams won that. Goff came in. Then they went to Seattle the next week. Green Bay. Kupp was out. Donald had rib stuff, and the Rams lost that game. It was an embarrassing loss, but I remember when we were leaving that after that game was over, it's like, man, whatever you do, sign JJ, re-sign John Johnson, because he was so good. That was his last great year, and of course, he's a safety, and we knew they weren't going to sign him, and he moved on, and that was the last great year of John Johnson. And so they knew what they were doing. They traded Robert Woods. They let Cooper Kupp go. The Rams do painful things, right? They do painful things, and so it's going to be interesting to see what they. That's a great question, JK. That's a great question. Sorry, again, good questions. You make me ramble. I didn't mean to ramble. That last play of the Eagles-Lions game was not pass interference. It was horrible. It was horrible. I just, yeah. Again, check the prop bets. Check the prop bets. Manuel Vasquez. I've been a Ram fan for 50 years, and I absolutely hated those uniforms yesterday. They're just not necessary. That's the part that kills me. It's just not necessary. And don't tell me it's to make a buck. This is Stan frickin' McCronkey, right? This guy could start a billionaires league, right? And you don't need those uniforms. It was just weak pandering to the non-serious fan. That's me, right? There you go. $5 Steve's Rams are a marquee team since the 1950s. Stick to the team colors. Yeah, this is why you're not going to have that crazy loyalty Chiefs fans, Packer fans have, Cowboy fans have, Steeler fans have. It's because they stay focused on who they are. You know, I'll tell you, they changed their uniforms a little bit before they killed the team. It was the Redskins, but the Rams don't have that. They didn't have that when I was a kid. They just don't have that kind of Raider type passion. And this is how you build it. You don't jack with things, right? You just don't jack with them, and you jack with them. All right, USA Expat, Chiefs, same uni and no name change. There you go. The Clark family, man. Clark family, right? 49ers acted like they beat the 85 Bears. Preach. Absolutely. Preposterous. Steeler fan Rob, yes, he got suspended. Should have been 2 games. So it's 1 game for Jamar. What a ridiculous thing to do, right? What a ridiculous thing to do. JK, Alabama, why the media hates the Rams so much and never gives them credit for anything. I don't know, but it's tangible. It's really there. It's not that they preach down on them. It's just they very seldom acknowledge them. That's what it is. I mean, Stafford should be talked about all the time, but he's on this run right now. He's got 25 consecutive touchdown passes without an interception or something, and they're talking about him now, but that's at how high of a level he has to play at, right? And I think talk about him being in the Hall of Fame would be over already if he played in Pittsburgh, right? If he got that Super Bowl in Pittsburgh, if he got that Super Bowl in Dallas, it would be over, but he didn't. All right, let's see here. Hi, Joe. Ron Reese from El Monte. I just got on. How is Lake doing? Is he hurt? Elbow injury. Sounds like he's going to miss time. We didn't want it to happen, but if it's going to happen, and let it happen in the safety room where the Rams are really, really deep. Cam Curl, Cam Kitchens, Jalen McCullough, and then you can also look at Josh Wallace, who swings back and forth. Ron Reese, you got on late. 5 best moments in Rams punter history. 5th best moment belongs to Johnny Hecker. 4th best moment belongs to Johnny Hecker. 3rd best moment belongs to Johnny Hecker. 2nd best moment belongs to Rusty Jackson taking a safety against the Cowboys in the 76 playoffs. 1st best moment in Rams punter history, Ethan Evans. So there you go. So I caught you up, Ron. There you go. The Falcons pick is currently number 8. Only a game away. Could be as high as number 2. Yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to play out in the long run, but yeah, I saw one mock draft that when the Rams were at 10 last week that had Mekhi Lemon from USC going to the Rams at 10. And I thought that was pretty cool. And then I spoke to the guys from Mid Valley Sports who were there who cover the in the room there with the Trojans. And I said, what's he like up close? What's that? They say Mekhi Lemon's the real deal. And I do think the Rams need to be looking at another receiver. I think they do because there's got to be a next generation. Guys, can I just tell you, I don't know if Puka Nacua is going to get any better, right? I think he's here and he'll stay here for a little bit, but the style of game he plays, he's going to get hurt, right? Devontae Adams is older, right? Anytime you got 1,000 catches, you're older. So Rams do need to draft that, and they also need to draft an offensive lineman, right? Rams have not drafted a corner in the first round. I think the last one they drafted in the first round was Ty Hill. Was at Clemson in 2006, 2007, and we know how that worked out. So offensive line, receiver, they're going to look for a playmaker. It's all character thing too for the Rams. But yeah, that part of the football process is coming, right? We're getting closer and closer to draft talk. USA Expat, NFL Media, a large part of it is their East Coast bias. That's so funny that would still exist, but I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue on that one. Definitely existed when the Lakers were in their prime during Showtime. JK, technically the Rams would be a mini dynasty if they win this year. For as much, I know people have you got to win 3 to maybe be a dynasty and everything. I think Steve, the sports writer there, my colleague there, would say the same thing. I looked at the 49ers from 81 to the end of the 90s as a dynasty. It's bookended by Dwight Clark's catch against the Cowboys and Terrell Owens' catch from Steve Young against the Packers, and that was the bookend of that dynasty. Drew Bledsoe getting whacked against the Jets, Tom Brady coming in, and then Tom Brady throwing the pick 6 the other way in his last pass in what was that, 2019. That was the Patriot dynasty. And I know there was only 6 titles there, but in the free agency period, the modern era, it's going to be really hard to have that other kind of dynasty. The dynasty, I think, needs to be modified. I don't know if you could call it a dynasty every 4 years if you go to the Super Bowl, but again, golden era of Rams history. Golden era of Rams history. All right, I hope the Rams draft an offensive lineman with their first pick. The mock drafts I've seen, I'm not really doing them. I'm just watching other people's mock drafts. It is offensive lineman is always on the board. And it's nice as of right now, the Rams have 4 picks in the top 100, 2 first rounders, one of those in the top 10 as of now, and then the 61st overall and the 93rd overall. There's not going to be a compensatory pick that comes in. That's what you Rams are going to have. Where it lands, that's going to change. And then you could all honestly say, they could move back a couple of spots, pick up some more capital. If that pick's a number 8 pick, you can move back to 10, pick up some other pieces. You can move back to 15, pick up some other pieces. You can maybe draft a player that you really like at number 8 and then drift back from 29. Hopefully 32 if they win the Super Bowl. But what I want is as many picks in the top 100 and top 150 as you can get. But of course, Kyron Williams and Puka Nacua, Quentin Lake, they were all drafted outside the top 150. Alaric Jackson's a free agent. These guys were all drafted out of the top 150 or taken out of the top 150. So, but I do like to load those guys up in mostly the top 100. So, yeah, that stuff's fun. That stuff's fun. It's $5 Steve here. Let's see. Get to 2 with Tennessee number 1. I get my eyes thinking, oh man. Yeah. Do you really think any team, how do I say this? There's no reason for Tennessee to hold on to that first pick overall, right? None whatsoever. There's no reason to hold on to that first pick. So somebody is going to get that first pick, right? Would you guys be okay with the Rams? Let's just say the Rams get that number 8 pick up to number 6 or 7, giving 2 first rounds next year's draft to move up to number 1 to draft Mendoza. It would probably be like 3 number 1s, right? You'd have to give them, year 2 this year and 1 in 2027. I like Mendoza. I like Mendoza a lot. I do. I really, really like Mendoza. All right, man. We went a long show tonight, guys. Long show. Let me see if I got everything in there. Cowboys, Raiders getting ready to kick off. When we get to the off season, I think we're going to get back to the 5 o'clock start time. But as of right now, it's just with football and with the game starting. I don't want to have to compete against the game's kickoffs. Let's see here real quick. Today is November 17th. Do I got anything in Rams history? Let's see if we got something in Rams history today. Oh, okay. All right. Here we go.
It was a stone groove, my man.
Wow. On this day in 1991, the Rams lost to the Lions in Detroit. Remember the Lions that year with Eric Kramer? They went on that run, was it the NFC title game? They lost to the Redskins. But this was the day in 1991 when Mike Utley went down with a spinal cord injury. And remember, that's what started this. This is why you see people do this when they're carted off the field. He never played again. But that thumbs up has become pretty iconic in terms of when you get a head knock or some kind of neck injury. Everyone wants to see that. On this day in 2012, the Rams signed Corey Harkey off their practice squad. He spent about 4 years with the Rams, 5 years, a free agent out of UCLA, good blocking tight end. On this day in 2020, Rams signed Matt Gay off the Colts practice squad. Think about that. And then where Matt Gay went back to. But remember, the Rams had that struggle in 2020 with Sam Sloman and Kyle Fairbairn. Hey, did anyone see Lucas Haversick kicking the ball this weekend for the Packers? But on this day, the Rams signed Matt Gay. On this day in 2022, Kupp goes on the IR after surgery on the right ankle. And that was kind of like the last, what we saw of the Cooper Kupp. Good in 2023, okay in 2024, and that was about it. Let's see. On this day in Rams history, Rams lost to the Saints 20-7. I saw that game. James Harris threw past Bob Klein, but we lost at Tulane Stadium. Let's see. Rams lost that game to Detroit 21-10 on this day. Then on this day in 2019, Rams beat the Bears 17-17. Tomorrow, Corey Littleton turns 32. So happy birthday to Corey Littleton. All right. So we got that out of the way. All right. Talking about the draft there, Steve Ramirez. No, the closer you are to number one, you can move to number one easier. Yeah, I agree with you, Steve. You're right about that. You're right about that. It wouldn't be 3 number ones because they could take that number 8 pick or number 7 pick and they could parlay it back even farther for more because they need players in Tennessee land, right? They need players. Funniest part is we play the 49ers in the playoffs and beat them. Is that what you're hoping for? I'm curious, right? I just think there would be something funny if the Rams could hoist the Lombardi at Levi Stadium, right? There would be something to that would be absolutely hilarious if they could pull that one off. All right, guys. I think we got everything in. I think I shot everything I wrote. I'm not going to do the greatest moments in Ram punter history. I think I covered that one pretty well. Let's see. Inactives yesterday were Stetson Bennett, Josh Carty, Jarquez Hunter, Bo Limmer, DJ Humphries, and DeJuan Johnson. You could speculate on all those guys if you want and think about what the future is for those guys right there. These were the inactives. Stetson Bennett, we understand. He's third quarterback, right? Josh Carty, they didn't let Harrison Mevis kick a field goal. Still, he hasn't kicked one. Jarquez Hunter, you understand why he's not playing. He's a rookie. Bo Limmer, I don't know if he's back next year. DJ Humphries, I'm glad he's there. I'm really glad he's there, but I don't know what it means for him. Yeah, he's not going to be here next year. he's going to want to try to play before his career ends. And DeJuan Johnson, I think they're just kind of holding on to him. These aren't practice squad guys, remember. These are guys that are on the active 53. They're just being labeled as inactive, and they're kind of just being stored there. So wanted you to see that. I'm a firm believer that the Rams still have not played their best football. Do you think? And that's kind of good news. You won that game against Seattle, and the Rams still aren't playing their best football. They're getting closer, but they're not playing their best football. Seattle is hopeful and not seeing. They're really proud of their defense and a loss. And I don't know if they're fully processing that there's a ceiling on Sam Darnold, right? So we've covered that one. McVay was conservative. The Rams were 2-11 on third down yesterday. 2-11, right? That's no bueno. I think Seattle was 7 of 16. But the difference was Stafford's efficiency in protecting the ball. We did talk about how the Rams were only in 18 personnel 17 or 18 times. I think that's like 30% of the time. They kind of morphed out of it. We did mention that they need to think about what are we going to do at receiver with Atwell on the IR and Xavier Smith at this point, because if Xavier Smith goes any longer, if he misses a whole week with a concussion, what are we going to do? And also, will Quentin Lake's injury force him to go on the IR? And then where do the Rams go from there? I'm looking at the secondary on the practice squad here. Let me run down the list here. AJ Green's a corner. He's been activated before. Tanner Engel would be a guy. Cam Lampkin would be a guy. Nate Valcarcel. Remember Nate Valcarcel? That guy was pretty physical. He would be a guy as well to keep an eye on to see would the Rams activate these guys. But these guys are going to be special teams. They would probably fill in on the special teams where maybe Jalen McCullough and Josh Wallace and even Cam Kitchen, they wouldn't be playing, but they're not going to be in the secondary. I doubt very much if you'd see them getting many defensive snaps. Roger McCreary is also someone to consider. I don't think he's played any defensive snaps yet. The guy the Rams acquired from the Titans, who was almost exclusively a slot corner there, and this was Lake's specialty, was being able to play that star position. Right now, you don't want to mess with Darius Williams. You don't want to mess with Kobe Durant. You don't want to mess with Emmanuel Forbes, who just, to our estimation, just keeps ascending, even though PFF doesn't recognize it. He's just ascending, and he's been physical. He's been a good tackler. Well, I'm not going to say a great tackler because he didn't miss a tackle yesterday, but he puts his head in there. Put it this way, he's a little more open to it than Deion Sanders was when it comes to tackling. And then, of course, you have Witherspoon coming back, but Witherspoon's another boundary corner, right? So Roger McCreary might be someone to keep an eye on when it comes to where you're going after that. The great Tim Burns shares it, and it's true. Havenstein whiffed a couple times. I think anyone in the offensive line, Havenstein had a rough day. I was expecting more anti-Havenstein hate. But I think it's just setting us up for this is the end for Havenstein. I think this is going to be it for him. Maybe he wants to keep playing, but I don't think he'll be playing for the Rams next year. I think there's a strong shot if there's another game kind of like that. You could see Warren McClendon step back in. Havenstein's spiritual leader, though. Havenstein's the glue guy. And the nice thing about this offensive line is, again, I think this is definitely the fourth week where nobody has missed a snap. Avila is rounding into shape. We do like Alaric Jackson. Kevin Dotson's good. I still think we're limited with Coleman Shelton, but he knows the role. But yeah, so I think the Rams are doing okay. Let's see here. Who's this? Full game live, face orange shaped TV face. Okay, I don't know what that is. Okay, we'll just move on. And Paul chimes in, go Rams. All right, longest show ever. I went an hour and 23 minutes. You guys know I try to keep this to 50 minutes, definitely under an hour, but I'm going to let you guys go. I know we got a great audience, guys. We will be back on Wednesday, same time, 3:30-ish stuff. We broadcast here from LA. How do we match up against Tampa Bay? I'll work on that more. It's depending on who is going to be there. Igabuka could be trouble, right? Igabuka could be trouble. And then there's other elements there that we want to see. But I think it's a pretty good matchup for the Rams. But I'll break that down on Wednesday, Mr. Burns, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, I better split. God bless. Thanks for hanging with me for so long. I do appreciate you. And be sure to hit like, subscribe, share. Go buy my books. They're right there. Amazon. There you go. Okay. Bye, guys.